Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us, this is our crossover episode, part two of our crossover episode, where we've been talking about the building blocks of IT solutions. I'm Landon Miles, the host of the Hands-on IT podcast here at Automox's Autonomous IT Podcast Network, and with me, I've got Jeremy Maldonado, who is the Automate IT podcast host. So, Jeremy, episode one, we talked about defining problems. We talked about Linux. What are we going to talk about this time?
So today, I think we're going to talk about testing automations, kind of building automations, trying to optimize your workflow, understanding your available tools. And yeah, I think episode one, we talked a lot about where do you find room, or how do you get into the mindset of like wanting to automate some of your solutions, because it's not something that you might think of natively.
Yeah,
breaking down steps and etc.
Yeah, and then so understanding your available tools. I think that's a really interesting place to start, because there are so many tools out there. There Bash, Python, whatever other language you can think of, it's out there. So the advice I want to give is like, start with a couple of those, but don't get stuck on making one tool work. If you get down the rabbit hole of one and think, wow, like I think that I'm reaching the limitation of this, or maybe I should use this tool, like go explore it, have fun, see what works best for you. Don't just eternally tool hop, like go make something, but sometimes it's the user, not the tool, but like go have fun, try stuff out. So
yeah, I was going to advise that I think that when someone's getting started with wanting to automate, so like solving a problem, I can just think of I won't say company names, but I'll think of an example, wanting to generate a certain report, download a certain report. Yeah. Then yeah.
Office Space fans. So.
Oh, for Office Space fans.
Did you ever, we can cut this part out, but the movie Office Space, it's like the 90s movie where he's like this TPS report. So they're going through like Y2K prep or something. It's an older movie, but like I think Jennifer Aniston's in it. Hilarious.
I know Office Space. I've never watched it.
Yeah, it's
I've worked in an office. I should probably watch Office
Space. I was
Space.
working in an office for a long time, and I watched that one, and some of the stuff still hits home. But
yeah, no, like even when somebody would talk about like even just The Office, I need to go back and watch Office Space, but I'm like, the same thing for such a long time. I was in an office and I was like, this is
too close to home. When I was in high school, I thought it was funny. Then I started working in an office and I said, no more of this.
You're like, no. I obviously do. I do love some of the antics that can happen. And I like interacting with people. I also like, at one point, I was on a technical support team for 4 years and we were all on the same floor.
Yeah.
I think I took that for granted, like having a problem and just standing up over my desk.
Oh,
and just being able to say, hey, come over here and look at this. Like, I can't send you a text block right now. Yeah, I can't send you a text block right now.
Just come look at this. So, yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's great. And like
that's an available tool to you.
Yeah, for sure.
But, on the topic of like, available tools, I think when someone's like, I need to use an API to generate a report, usually the first step someone might do is using this company's API to download a report. They throw that into Google. And then maybe you get their documentation and you'll see like, okay, to use this API, they're telling me they want me to use Postman, or they're telling me they want me to, they have a Bash option and a Python option and a C# documentation to do all of these things. And those are, even though they look like, copy and paste blocks, you're like, well, this is also kind of a learning experience.
Yeah.
Maybe I
You can
can. Well,
see
I do
how
want to
it's
steal this
written
in
correctly.
Python.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to steal this and I'm going to use it right.
Yeah.
Or
And yeah,
yeah,
like you were saying, like a lot of the API documentation out there does have those examples. Like the Google API is one of them that always comes to mind.
yeah,
Um, I mean, even our API has some, but we won't talk about AutoMox right now. But
yeah,
yeah, the Google API, you
yeah.
can click through several different options. Like, how do I do this in Bash? How do I do this in Python? And grab that code and drop it in there, and then put your own API key in, and
Yeah.
and off you go. And like
It,
that's yeah,
it's the, in an essence, they're giving you some building blocks to go and learn something new.
yeah,
But also at the same time, like, probably, at least for me, prior to working here, I got to work a lot with APIs, but I didn't really spend a lot of time in Postman. I knew what it was, but I was like, I don't need
hmm
it. But that's a free available tool that this documentation kind of pointed you to.
yeah,
Now you're learning. That in itself kind of did help me learn API using REST APIs a little bit better. So,
yeah. Because you have to. It's the format is key, and being able
yeah,
Postman gives you is like, this is the format you need to follow for this. And it's like, this
yeah,
isn't what Google is saying I should do. It's like, well, you're on the wrong screen. Then go
yeah.
figure the right screen. But yeah,
It, and just by going into Google and saying, how do I do this? You had to be introduced to new things. So, and most of the time, if you're trying to solve something, you're usually not the first person that had that problem, or you're usually not the first person that wanted to do that. So chances are there's some resource that can
yeah,
get you started, tells you what you should really be doing to solve something, and then you learn from that.
for sure. And then my other favorite thing that I like to talk about when understanding available tools is not reinventing the wheel. Um,
Yeah,
so understand what else is out there. Understand the problem that you're solving enough where you can see how other people have solved it, or if there's another solution out there, or like what are the other solutions to solve this one problem. So don't just
yeah,
pigeonhole straight down into the one you're trying to solve. Like look out there. Like again, we talked about awesome.self-hosted, the GitHub repository of a bunch of self-hosted stuff. Um, look through that. Look around GitHub. Look Google around and see how other people have solved this problem. I mean, again, you're not most of the time you're not the first person to have tried to solve this problem. So
yeah.
um, but,
And
maybe
I
the
mean, just
exact specifications of yours, but look around. Someone else has solved something very similar. So
I think a really big example is because prior to AutoMox, I didn't have like a massive Python exposure. Like I
mhm.
didn't get to spend a lot of time with it. A little while ago, I had to work on a project. It was for here at AutoMox, but Python is something that I'm still trying to get my feet wet in.
Yeah,
And I don't know how familiar you are with Python, but I had to basically write a portion of this Python basically program that would SSH into certain Linux systems, and I needed to create multiple SSH connections to deploy a command. And
yeah,
I was writing a Python module to do this from scratch, based on some help that I got from Stack Overflow. And if you think about it, like I am kind of reinventing the wheel here. Somebody internal at Automox like looked at it like, oh, have you heard of Paramiko?
yeah,
It's a Python library that does exactly what you want to do. Just import it, and right then and there, about like 80 or 90 lines of code. And I wasn't even done. 80 or 90 lines of code were
yeah,
just stripped and replaced by something online that was well documented. Um, and I think the issue is that maybe I just wasn't explaining it properly enough to get information from the internet.
yeah,
But the
for
point
sure.
is, yeah, like I was reinventing the wheel here. And not only did somebody help me, I mean, Henry, shout out to Henry,
Henry's
for
the best.
helping me out. Yeah. Shout out to Henry. But
Yeah,
not only did he kind of save me code, but the entire project was better as a result of it, because I was able to lean on something already written, already well documented. And it's not like it took away from the experience of the program,
yeah,
because I got to learn something in instead of reinventing the wheel, I just replaced it with something that we knew would have worked.
But yeah, so one of the things I like about Python is that it's very general purpose. So JavaScript mainly for web applications. Python, you can talk back and forth to test equipment. You can, like Jeremy was saying, you can
Yeah.
use SSH libraries to do just about anything you want to do with Python can be done. So it's a really good general purpose one. It's easy to kind of read through and understand what's going on. So even if I haven't used Python in a while, or even if I'm coming to a new project, I can just like scroll through it real quick and get kind of a brief understanding of what it does, just because it's an easily written and read language. I mean, there's a bunch of others out there, but for me, Python was just the one that's like, okay, I
Yeah.
can get started with this really quickly. We're going to try that. But yeah, whatever language you want to run with it. If you need one to start with, I think Python is a really good one to start with. Bash, very similar to Python.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you don't have
and
to reinvent the wheel.
yeah, don't
There's
have to
so
reinvent
much
the
out
wheel.
there.
Just look around, see what libraries exist. Um, but yeah, and then so the next thing I wanted to talk about was the build, test, optimize cycle. So with software, it's never really done. I feel like
Yeah.
you're always going to be iterating or updating or fixing or changing. Like with a house, you build it, it's done. You go,
Yeah.
however, you're going to have to go repair it in a couple of years if the roof leaks or if there's a leaking pipe. Like software is similar. Like it's
Yeah.
not, hey, this is done, I'm never touching it again. I mean, I think there's a few websites out there. What is it, like the Space Jam website that's still, like, you can go look at it and it's like a time capsule of 1998 or whenever that movie came out. But there's a lot of software evolves over time, and your solutions need to evolve with that. Jeremy, what I'll let you hop on that topic too. So.
I mean, I was going to say that, yeah, software, and it becomes a matter of like, I think one of my favorite analogies ever that we always talk about, and kind of a Linux thing too, but is curl.
Mm-hmm.
Because curl was just someone's side project that basically now upholds so much of the internet.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
ever seen those memes where it's like the whole internet relies on the existence of curl, which is a project that is, I think, maintained by one man.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but
Yeah.
yeah, and it becomes this massive thing of like, so many, we don't think about it in our life. So many so much software that we use, or even like some of our devices, they were invented to solve one particular problem. Um, an example, like just to kind of think about it in like an IT perspective, email. We don't really think about it. We just go onto our phones or our laptops and expect it to work.
Yeah.
But if somebody does have their own email service, they have to make sure that that email service can be maintained through server maintenance windows or global VPNs or VPN changes or browser changes. Like so many things can basically take your business offline. Like if we're talking about email, it can just take the whole thing offline because you didn't have time to test and update before it went on to every
Yeah.
laptop or every browser. So, you know, the the idea of like, okay, cool, we have the solution, it works, but if you don't keep an eye on it, it's not going to work forever. That's just how our IT landscape works.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think the other thing I'd like to think about a lot is just like GPUs. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna pull this up real quick, but like Jensen Huang, when he started in NVIDIA, they were creating GPUs for video games, and then it turned out that like those were also really really good at doing math really quickly, which turned out that, oh, now we have the most valuable company in the world right now because we started making
yeah,
these video games. Turns out we can actually use them for AI training, and um, it's really interesting with that too. And I was trying to find it, but listeners, I'll put a link in the show notes. If you haven't ever looked at Jensen Wong's LinkedIn page, go take a look at it, because go to his work history, and it's like, I think it's like
Yeah.
server at a restaurant, 20-year gap, CEO of Nvidia.
Yeah.
But yeah, so don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't do that. But yeah, we'll have to put the link in there. So
Yeah.
anyways, I digress. But testing your solutions is the next thing. So don't just assume that something works on your computer, so it's going to work everywhere. Test it in a wide different range of applications. Test it on your phone, test it on a laptop, test it on a workstation, Mac, Windows, Linux, whichever one. Like, test it on all of those. Make sure that it works if you're deploying it. Make sure that you set up some logging controls and alerts, so that you know if something breaks and that you can go fix it before it's a really big problem. And then version control. So Jeremy, would you want to talk about version control real quick and the importance of that?
Yeah, I can talk about version control. Obviously, like, piggybacking off on testing, though, to kind of use an example that I have here, I manage a couple of web hosting servers that mostly just host like basic, really just static websites. But there is very much a need to like check that my server, and my checks were very basic. Are the web servers running? Can I reach the ports? I'm using test with things like dig to make sure that the DNS server is resolving online. Just really basic checks that I kind of just did as like almost as a learning experience. But now, there could come a time where a lot of these websites have a back end of like, just to pick on WordPress or something, like a background of PHP and HTML that granular of like web development, like understanding the ins and out of PHP, not something I'm super well versed in.
Yeah.
So if something got updated, I would like a way to fall back, or, for example, this is something I've seen before. If somebody is ready to upgrade their website so it's compatible with a up-to-date PHP version,
all the plugins aren't.
Yeah, there's all these plugins. There's a ton of version control, and really with what GitHub is, if anyone's not familiar, it's just an opportunity to create new branches. So that way, whenever you're editing your code base, there's a versionized transaction of what changes took place, and then you can always roll back to those previous branches. There's so many ins and outs too with automating GitHub and automating deployment, because you can really have your entire CI/CD pipeline put into your GitHub Actions. But in my experience, I actually had a plugin with Git, so it was very easy for me to add my remote repository. And whenever a new branch was created, I was able to just preview that branch and actually have it. I could, for example, download that branch to have like new versions of PHP tested, or if certain modules had to be removed through WordPress, maybe now all of a sudden I can kind of just pull from that branch of my repository, and I can test it there before I have to go and push everything out through Git into the main branch.
Yeah.
I think that Git is also, it is a tool that at some point is very good to understand in your IT career, because not only if you're going to download self-hosted programs or self-hosted projects, are they available through Git, but you also kind of get to see in the background, what are software engineers doing and what is IT doing when they create new versions for our software release, or it's just an opportunity for you to kind of, number one, learn the inner workings of version management, because all software is version managed somehow, and it's likely Git. And then two, there are plenty of plugins for you to, like, if we're talking about hosting your own calendars or your own web servers or websites, Git allows you the ability to, you can see everything that's deployed for all your production machines, but now I need to, without disrupting everyone else, create a new section with new changes and only have one system change that. It's version control is essential.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
my
And being
tangent
able
on
to,
Git.
I think anyone that's worked with WordPress has been, in the past, has been burned by a bad PHP upgrade.
Yeah.
But being able to just say, no, let's roll that back is essential. And
Yeah.
like being able to say,
And
oh, nope, that didn't work. Let's roll it back. Let's change back to the version that did. And that's
and
what GitHub does, and
I
or
think
what
Git's
Git does.
important
So
too,
yeah.
because one experience that I had was that, okay, the repository could be, the view could be shared by multiple people. And now, say I'm working on this branch, I'm working on this file, and apparently this file has a problem. The Apache logs are throwing an error. This is the file. So without having like 20 people SSH into one server to go look at this file, I can say it's in Git. It's on this
Yeah,
branch. It's this file name. Go look at it. And there's your ticket, or there's your screen share. It's not like I'm having everyone, and then, more GitHub lingo. If it's a change that requires review, somebody can put in a formal pull request, and then somebody can go and view the changes in the code. And then once it's approved in Git and it's added to your main branch, you can have automations to then push those finalized file change versions to your servers. In my
yeah,
case, that's how I would do it with version control.
for sure. And one GitHub and Git in general, they get a little tricky. You don't need to master that like
Yeah.
immediately, but knowing kind of a handful of commands, knowing a little bit of the back end of it is really helpful. And so I think it's also important to note, and this may just be the nerd in me, that Git is the technology that allows you to version control things. So GitHub is the most
Yeah.
popular software for that. It's owned by Microsoft, github.com. That's where a lot of those repositories are stored. There's several others, GitLab, Git. I think Git. There's another one that it's self-hosted. For some reason, they also like to make really hard to pronounce names, but there's several that you can self-host of a Git if you just want to do that. But you don't have to master it immediately. It can be tricky, and LLMs also really good at saying, no, this is the Git command you need for this, or Google being able
Yes.
to find those Git commands or cheat sheets too. But then jumping a little bit forward to is creating real value. So the solutions you're creating, never lose sight. Make sure you never lose sight of that original problem. That original problem may change a little bit in scope. Like we talked about NVIDIA, they were going after video games. Now they're going after training of AI systems. Like that problem changed in scope, but they can still go back to say, this is what we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
It's changing, but we're still trying to solve that problem. So being able to make sure that you're always solving a problem and not just saying, hey, nope, this is the one problem. It's never going to change. Like with your software solutions, like putting a stick in the ground and holding on to that is important sometimes. Like when you're defining your problems and making like the small changes, it's like, hey, this is what this piece of software is going to do. It's not going to do anything else. But the overarching problem, if you don't kind of move over time, your software quickly becomes obsolete.
Yeah.
And then with that, documentation. So actually, we'll go. Do you have anything to add to the kind of the problem scoping, problem changing stuff too?
No, but I mean, of course, I think I do. I will
Yeah.
always have something to add. That's my biggest red flag. But what I was going to say was that, kind of like you talked about, problems grow over time. When you have a solution to solve something, it's always normal for someone to be like, oh, well, now can it do this? Now
Yeah.
can it do that? Now can it do that? In the movie Spy Kids,
A great movie.
I don't know if I don't remember if it's Spy Kids 1 or Spy Kids 2, but do you remember there's this part where one of the main characters, he puts on a spy watch and it does a million things, and he asks his uncle, what time is it?
He's like, oh, it
And he was
doesn't do
like,
that.
yeah, we put, there's so many cool gadgets in it, there wasn't room for the clock.
Yeah.
And so like at the, it's, I kind of think about it that way. Like, yeah, but it's a watch, it's supposed to tell the time, and they forgot scope of that. So that's the ultimate, that's my analogy for.
I love it. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. And then documentation. So this one gets overlooked a lot because it kind of is a pain to do. Is like, oh, this works now. Like, I'm tired. I want to go on to the next project. But slowing down is like, this is what this does. This is why it does this is important, not just for future people, but also for yourself in like 3 months when something breaks and you have to go back and figure out what you did. So
yeah. And I think this was a term that I used at Automox, or no, that I learned from Automox. I don't think somebody intended for me to steal this and market it, but somebody wrote something. So it wrote a massive project that they were going to share with us in the company, and he developed something that, or he inspired me to develop something called the bus test. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
So if somebody created this project and they got hit by a bus, would we be able to maintain that project? And obviously, I don't want anyone to get hit by a bus, but it raised a good point. If somebody had to resume this project or use it in a customer environment, can it be used?
Yeah.
Can it be understood? The documentation is vital for that.
Yeah.
And once you begin to start writing tests, or you begin to start building things, writing programs, or even just making an article how to do something, once you troubleshoot it, you're kind of like, I can give someone 10 steps on how to use this.
Yeah.
Motorcycle. But anyway, yeah. There's that was mine. I don't know if we have to edit out the bus test thing, but I thought
now we can keep that one in there. That's good. I like it. But yeah. So I mean, just being able to just even if it's a few quick notes of this works because X, Y, and Z, or here's 3 troubleshooting steps, like, is incredibly helpful. I mean, even just a lot of the projects on GitHub, like if you're going to use something, go look at the ones that like are really useful. Like if you're trying to, from the awesome self-hosted list, those are really good. Like the really good ones, you can go and there's a ton of documentation and you can figure it out. And so like that's being able to like look at that documentation and say, this is what this does, this is how it works, is very helpful. This is how you use it. And I'm terrible at doing it. I've gotten better, but sometimes
I love when people put an example. This thing solves this. And I'm like, and then they just, even if you can't like explain to me in detail how it works, can you give me an example? Oh, yeah. That's good enough.
Put this file there, see what happens. It's like, wow,
yes,
that's amazing. It's like,
exactly.
You want to try to do this? Here you go. Here's some example like this. Run this example script. See what happens. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I feel great about myself now.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I feel cool. I'm copy and pasting things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all we had for part 2 of our episode. Jeremy, thanks so much for joining me for this crossover episode.
Thank you, Landon. This was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so call to action. So pick something small to solve. Again, same as the last one. Go build it, test it, document it, schedule it, then share it with somebody else, and never be ashamed to be like, hey, look at this cool thing I made, or look at this cool thing I figured out. So, but
show and
Jeremy,
tell.
anything you want to add at the end?
No, I was just going to say thank you very much for having me on. It was a pleasure. Thank you all very much. And hopefully I'll be seeing y'all soon. I've just to have more conversations more like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone again. Until next time, build something, have fun, fix something, break something, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, y'all.